Christmas Eve was supposed to be the happiest day of the year, but for Rowan Mercer, it felt like the day his heart remembered every wound it had ever carried. As the winter sun shone brightly across the city streets and holiday music drifted through crowded stores, he stood frozen outside a small bookstore, staring at a face he never expected to see again. For a brief moment, the noise of the world disappeared. The laughter of children, the ringing of bells, and the cheerful voices of shoppers faded into silence. The woman standing across the street belonged to a chapter of his life he had spent years trying to forget. She was the person who had once been his entire world and the person whose departure had nearly destroyed him. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Your support helps bring more emotional stories like this to life. 3 years earlier, Rowan had been a husband, a father, and a man who believed his future was secure. Life had not been perfect, but it had been full of dreams. He and his wife, Serena Hartwell, had built a modest life together and welcomed their young son, Oliver, into the world. They had spent countless evenings imagining family vacations, birthdays, and holidays they would celebrate together. But reality had slowly chipped away at those dreams. Financial struggles, long work hours, misunderstandings, and growing emotional distance had created cracks in their relationship. What began as occasional disagreements eventually became painful silence. Then one day, the marriage collapsed completely. The divorce had left Rowan shattered. The hardest part wasn't losing the marriage. It was watching his son struggle to understand why his family no longer lived under one roof. Oliver was only 6 years old when everything changed. Every night he asked questions Rowan couldn't answer without feeling his heart break all over again. The boy wondered why his parents couldn't be together, why holidays felt different, and why happiness suddenly seemed harder to find. After the separation, Serena moved to another city for a career opportunity. At first, she stayed in touch regularly, but over time the calls became less frequent. Visits became rare. Eventually months passed with almost no contact. Rowan never spoke badly about her in front of Oliver. Instead, he carried the burden alone, protecting his son's image of his mother even while fighting his own feelings of abandonment and disappointment. The following years tested Rowan in ways he never imagined. He worked long hours managing deliveries for a local warehouse while raising Oliver on his own. Mornings began before sunrise and ended long after dark. There were school lunches to prepare, homework to help with, bills to pay, and endless responsibilities to manage. Some nights exhaustion overwhelmed him, but he kept moving forward because he knew his son depended on him. Christmas was always the hardest season. Every December reminded him of the family he once had. Every decorated tree and glowing window seemed to whisper memories he wished he could forget. Yet he continued creating magical holidays for Oliver. He wrapped presents, baked cookies, hung decorations, and smiled even when loneliness weighed heavily on his chest. This particular Christmas Eve began like any other. The sky was clear, the sunlight bright despite the cold air, and the city buzzed with holiday excitement. Rowan had taken Oliver downtown to buy a few last-minute gifts and enjoy the festive atmosphere. The young boy was excited by everything he saw. He pointed at decorations, admired toy displays, and laughed whenever he spotted someone dressed as Santa Claus. For a few precious hours, Rowan almost forgot about the sadness that Christmas often brought. Then everything changed. As they walked through the crowded shopping district, Oliver suddenly stopped and squeezed his father's hand. Rowan followed his son's gaze across the street. His breath caught instantly. Serena stood near a cafe entrance. Time seemed to freeze. She looked different than he remembered. There were subtle signs of age and experience in her face, but her eyes were unmistakable. Those same eyes had once looked at him with love, hope, and dreams of forever. Rowan's first instinct was to turn away. Years of hurt surged through him all at once. But before he could move, Serena looked up. Their eyes met. The distance of 3 years vanished in a heartbeat. Neither spoke immediately. The moment felt unreal. Oliver recognized her a second later. His eyes widened with shock and confusion. For a brief moment nobody moved. Then Serena slowly crossed the street. Rowan's emotions collided inside him. Anger. Sadness. Curiosity. Fear. All of it mixed together beneath the bright Christmas sunlight. As she approached, he noticed something unexpected. She looked nervous. Not the confident woman who had once left to pursue a new life. This woman seemed burdened by regret. Oliver rushed forward first. The sight alone nearly broke Rowan's heart. A child should never have to wait years for a parent's embrace. Yet despite everything, Oliver's face lit up with pure happiness. For the next several minutes, Rowan stood quietly while mother and son reunited. He watched years of missed memories reflected in their expressions. He saw joy mixed with pain. Relief mixed with guilt. Eventually Serena looked toward him. Her eyes filled with emotion. She seemed to struggle for words. "I'm sorry." Those two simple words changed everything. Not because they erased the past. Not because they magically healed years of hurt. But because they were the first honest words Rowan had heard from her in a very long time. For years he had imagined this moment. He had imagined arguments. He had imagined accusations. He had imagined explanations and excuses. Instead, there were only 2 words carrying the weight of countless sleepless nights and unspoken regrets. The afternoon continued quietly. They found a nearby park and sat together while Oliver played among holiday decorations and festive displays. The winter sunlight reflected off fresh snow, creating a peaceful atmosphere that felt almost cinematic. For the first time in years, Serena shared the truth. Life after leaving had not become the dream she imagined. Career success came, but happiness never followed. She spent years chasing opportunities, believing she could outrun the mistakes of her past. Yet every achievement felt incomplete. Every holiday felt empty. The absence of her son haunted her. He did not excuse the pain. He realized forgiveness wasn't about pretending the past never happened. That realization felt strangely liberating. The 3 of them spent the remainder of Christmas Eve together. They walked through holiday markets, shared hot chocolate, and watched children skating beneath strings of sparkling lights. None of it erased the years they lost, but it created something equally valuable. For Oliver, it was the hope of rebuilding a relationship with his mother. For Serena, it was the hope of earning back trust one day at a time. For Rowan, it was the hope that healing was still possible. As evening approached and the city lights began glowing against the darkening sky, Rowan looked at his son. Oliver's smile was brighter than it had been in years. That alone made the day unforgettable. Sometimes life doesn't offer perfect endings. Sometimes it offers something better. A chance to begin again. A chance to forgive. A chance to heal wounds that once seemed impossible to mend. Years later, Rowan would remember that Christmas Eve not because it fixed everything overnight, but because it marked the day everyone involved chose courage over resentment and hope over regret. And that choice transformed their lives forever. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Your support helps these emotional stories reach more people who believe in love, forgiveness, and second chances. Special request: comment below and tell us, do you believe someone truly deserves a second chance after making a life-changing mistake? As snow gently began falling beneath the glow of Christmas lights, Rowan watched his son walk between both parents, holding a hand on each side. It was not the family they once had, and it might never be. Yet in that beautiful moment, surrounded by the warmth of the holiday season, it felt like the beginning of something precious. Not perfection. not a fairy tale. Just three imperfect people choosing to move forward together. And sometimes, that is the greatest Christmas miracle of all.